My daughter Lily was drawing with chalk when Karen started yelling. Karen was our HOA president and hated everything. She grabbed my 5-year-old girl and pushed her hard. Lily fell and hit her head on the rocks. Now she won't wake up. Karen thinks she can get away with it. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The sun was bright that Saturday morning when the trouble started. I was inside making coffee when I heard angry voices outside. Looking through my window, I saw Karen Whitaker yelling at my 5-year-old daughter Lily. Lily was drawing with colorful chalk on our driveway. She had made pretty rainbows and flowers. Her blonde hair was shining in the sun as she worked on her art. She looked so happy and innocent. But Karen was mad. Very mad. "This is against the rules," Karen shouted. Her face was red with anger. "You can't draw on the driveway. This is vandalism." Karen was the HOA president. She was about 55 years old with short gray hair. She always wore expensive clothes and acted like she owned the whole neighborhood. Everyone was scared of her because she could fine people for breaking HOA rules. Lily looked up at Karen with confused eyes. She was just a little girl who wanted to draw pretty pictures. She didn't understand why this angry woman was yelling at her. "But Daddy said I could draw here," Lily said in her small voice. Her bottom lip started to shake like she might cry. "I don't care what your daddy said," Karen snapped. "The rules say no chalk on driveways. You're making our neighborhood look trashy." That's when Karen did something terrible. She grabbed Lily's arm and pulled her hard. My little girl stumbled and almost fell. The chalk fell from her hands and broke on the ground. I ran outside as fast as I could. "Get your hands off my daughter," I yelled. Karen turned to look at me. Her eyes were cold and mean. "Your child is breaking HOA rules. She's vandalizing property. She's 5 years old, Karen. It's just chalk. It washes off with water." Karen smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. "Rules are rules, Michael. You'll get a fine for this. And I'll make sure the whole HOA board knows you can't control your child." I picked up Lily and held her close. She was shaking and crying now. "You scared her," I said. "She's just a little kid playing." "Then teach her to follow rules," Karen said. She walked away like nothing happened. That night Lily couldn't sleep. She kept asking if the mean lady would come back. I told her everything would be okay, but I was wrong. Very wrong. Karen didn't stop. She started watching our house like a hawk. Every day she found new things to complain about. Our grass was too long by half an inch, fine. Lily left a toy in the yard, fine. Our mailbox needed paint, fine. The fines kept coming. $50 here, $100 there. Karen was trying to make our life miserable. But I'm a district attorney. I know bullies and I know how to fight them. I just didn't know how far Karen would go. I tried talking to other neighbors. Mrs. Chin lived next door. She was scared to talk about Karen. "She fined me $300 last month," Mrs. Chin whispered. "My roses were the wrong color. She said pink roses weren't allowed." Mr. Rodriguez down the street had similar problems. "Karen made me cut down my fruit tree. Said it was too tall. That tree took me 5 years to grow." Everyone had Karen stories. She had bullied every family on our street. But no one fought back because they were scared. I decided to be careful. I started keeping records of everything Karen did. I took pictures of our house and yard. I saved all her fine letters. If she wanted to play games, I would be ready. But I should have protected Lily better. The attack happened on a Tuesday. I was in court working on a big case. A man had robbed 3 banks and I was trying to put him in prison. Lily was at home with Sarah, our babysitter. Sarah was 20 years old and studying to be a teacher. She loved kids and was always patient with Lily. Lily trusted her completely. Sarah told me later what happened. She was crying when she called me. "Mr. Dawson, something terrible happened," Sarah said. Her voice was shaking. Lily was playing in the backyard. She was blowing soap bubbles and laughing. The bubbles were floating over the fence into other yards. "That's normal, Sarah. Kids blow bubbles all the time." But Karen saw them. She came into our yard without permission. She was screaming about the bubbles being a violation. She said Lily was littering. My heart started beating fast. What did Lily do? She got scared, but she didn't stop blowing bubbles. She's just 5, you know? She didn't understand why bubbles were bad. Karen got angrier and angrier. Then what happened? Sarah started crying harder. Karen grabbed Lily. She shook her and called her a bad girl. Then she pushed Lily really hard. Lily fell backward and hit her head on the stone border around your flower garden. I felt sick. "Where's Lily now?" The ambulance took her to the hospital. "Mr. Dawson, there was so much blood. She won't wake up." I dropped the phone and ran to my car. The drive to the hospital was the longest 20 minutes of my life. I kept thinking about Lily's sweet smile and her laugh. I thought about how she called me Daddy, and how she always wanted me to read her stories before bed. At the hospital, Dr. Martinez explained what happened. Your daughter has a serious brain injury. The fall caused swelling in her brain. She's in a coma. Will she wake up? We don't know. Sometimes people wake up in a few days. Sometimes it takes weeks or months. And sometimes. He didn't finish, but I knew what he meant. I sat next to Lily's bed. She looked so small with all the tubes and machines around her. Her blonde curls were dirty with dried blood. Her face was pale and still. I'm here, sweetheart, I whispered. Daddy's here. I'm going to fix this. But first I had to deal with Karen. I went to the police station that night. Officer Williams took my report. I want to press charges against Karen Whitaker for assault, I said. Officer Williams looked uncomfortable. Mr. Dawson, I understand you're upset. But Karen says it was an accident. She says Lily tripped and fell. That's a lie. My babysitter saw everything. Yes, but Karen is saying your babysitter is lying to cover up her own mistake. She's claiming Sarah wasn't watching Lily properly. I couldn't believe it. My 5-year-old daughter is in a coma, and you're not going to arrest the woman who put her there? We're investigating, sir. But we need more evidence. Karen has friends in the police department. She's been HOA president for 10 years. People respect her. I left the police station angrier than I'd ever been. Karen thought she could hurt my daughter and get away with it. She was wrong. I started planning. As a district attorney, I knew how to build cases against criminals. Karen was just another criminal who needed to be stopped. First, I installed security cameras around my house. I hid them in trees and under the roof. If Karen came near my property again, I would have video proof. Next, I started investigating Karen's past. I used my access to public records to dig into her history. What I found was disturbing. Karen had lived in 4 different neighborhoods in the past 15 years. In each place, she had been HOA president. In each place, neighbors had complained about her behavior. But the complaints were always ignored or dropped. In her last neighborhood, a man named Frank Peterson filed a police report against Karen. He claimed she poisoned his dog because it barked too much. The dog died, but there wasn't enough evidence to prove Karen did it. Frank moved away 6 months later. Another neighbor, Susan Mills, said Karen had destroyed her garden with weed killer. Susan had beautiful roses that won prizes at flower shows. One morning, all her roses were dead. Susan saw Karen near her garden the night before, but couldn't prove anything. I realized Karen was a serial bully. She moved from place to place, terrorizing neighborhoods until people couldn't take it anymore. Then she would move on and start over somewhere else. But this time would be different. This time she had hurt my daughter. I started leaving notes in Karen's mailbox. I was careful to type them on different computers so they couldn't be traced back to me. The first note said, "I know what you did to that little girl." I watched from my window as Karen read it. She looked around nervously, then crumpled up the paper. The next day, I left another note, "You can't hide from what you did." Karen started checking her mailbox more carefully. She would look around before taking out her mail, like she was afraid someone was watching. Which I was. I kept visiting Lily every day. I would sit by her bed and read her favorite books. I told her about my day and about how much I missed her laugh. Sometimes I would cry, but I tried to stay strong for her. The doctors said talking to coma patients might help them wake up. So I talked to Lily about everything. I told her about the birds outside her hospital window. I told her about the nice nurses who took care of her. I promised her I would make the bad lady go away. 1 week after the attack, I got a call from Tim Bradley. He lived across the street and worked from home as a computer programmer. "Michael, I heard about Lily. I'm so sorry. I wanted to help, so I checked my security camera footage from that day." My heart jumped. "Did you see what happened?" "Not the actual incident in your backyard. But I saw Karen walking to your house that afternoon. She looked angry. And here's the strange part, she sat in her car outside your house for almost an hour before she went to your backyard." "An hour?" "Yeah. Like she was watching and planning something. That doesn't sound like someone who just happened to get upset about bubbles." Tim sent me the video footage. It showed Karen parking across from my house at 2:15 p.m. She sat in her car watching my house. At 3:10 p.m. she got out and walked purposefully toward my backyard. At 3:25 p.m. she came running back to her car and drove away quickly. This was proof that Karen's attack on Lily was planned, not a sudden accident like she claimed. I took the video to the police, but Officer Williams still wasn't interested. This just shows she was in the neighborhood. It doesn't prove she assaulted your daughter. I was getting frustrated with the police. It seemed like Karen really did have friends protecting her. But I wasn't giving up. I decided to investigate Karen's finances. As HOA president, she handled a lot of money. Maybe she was stealing. I requested HOA financial records through a public records request. What I found was shocking. Karen had been stealing money from the HOA for 3 years. She would create fake invoices for landscaping and maintenance work that never happened. She would write checks to a company called Willow Creek Services, a company that didn't exist except on paper. I traced the fake company back to Karen. She had set up a bank account under that name and was depositing HOA money into it. Over 3 years, she had stolen almost $50,000. This was embezzlement, a serious crime. I could use this to pressure Karen or to show the police that she was a criminal who would lie about anything. But I wanted more evidence about the attack on Lily first. I started talking to more neighbors, asking them to think back to that Tuesday afternoon. Did anyone see or hear anything unusual? Mrs. Patterson, an elderly lady who lived behind us, remembered something important. I was in my kitchen making tea around 3:15 that day, she said. I heard someone yelling in your backyard. It sounded like a woman's voice, very angry. Then I heard a child crying. Then everything got quiet. Did you see anything? I looked out my window, but your fence is too high. But a few minutes later, I saw a woman walking quickly through the alley behind your house. She was looking around like she didn't want to be seen. Can you describe her? Gray hair, expensive clothes. I think it was that HOA lady, Karen something. This was more evidence. Karen had been seen leaving the scene after Lily was hurt. I also talked to Dr. Martinez about Lily's injuries. Doctor, could these injuries have been caused by a simple fall? Dr. Martinez looked at Lily's medical files. The pattern of bruising is consistent with being pushed or shaken first, then falling. If she had just tripped, the injuries would look different. So someone definitely pushed her? In my medical opinion, yes. The bruises on her arms and shoulders suggest she was grabbed forcefully. I was building a strong case, but I needed one more piece of evidence. I needed a witness who actually saw Karen attack Lily. That's when I got lucky. Carmen Rodriguez was 8 years old and lived 2 houses down from us. Her bedroom window faced our backyard. Her mother, Maria, brought her to see me one evening. Carmen has something to tell you, Maria said. She's been having nightmares since last Tuesday. She saw what happened to Lily. Carmen was a shy little girl with big brown eyes. She was scared to talk at first. It's okay, Carmen, I said gently. You're not in trouble. I just want to know what you saw. I was looking out my window, Carmen whispered. I saw Lily playing with bubbles. She looked happy. Then what happened? The mean lady came into your yard. She was yelling at Lily. Lily looked scared, but she kept blowing bubbles because she didn't understand why the lady was mad. What did the mean lady do? Carmen started crying. She grabbed Lily's arms and shook her. Then she pushed her really hard. Lily fell down and hit her head on the rocks. There was blood. What did the mean lady do then? She looked around to see if anyone was watching. Then she ran away. She didn't try to help Lily at all. This was it. I had an eyewitness to the attack. Carmen's testimony, combined with the video footage, the medical evidence, and Karen's history of violence, would be enough to convict her. But I still had one more surprise for Karen. I had been leaving notes in her mailbox for 2 weeks. Each note made her more paranoid and scared. I could see her checking her locks multiple times and looking over her shoulder when she walked outside. For my final note, I wrote, I know about the money you stole. I know about the little girl you hurt. The police are coming. The next morning, I called the police and the district attorney's office. I presented all my evidence: the video footage, the witness testimony, the medical reports, and the embezzlement records. This time they listened. Detective Sarah Kim was assigned to the case. She was a tough, experienced cop who specialized in crimes against children. This is a strong case, Detective Kim said after reviewing everything. We have enough to arrest Karen Whitaker. That afternoon, I watched from my window as police cars pulled up to Karen's house. Detective Kim and 2 other officers walked to her front door. When Karen opened the door, she immediately started talking loudly. This is harassment. I'm being targeted because I enforce HOA rules. Ma'am, you're under arrest for aggravated assault on a child and embezzlement, Detective Kim said calmly. Karen's face went white. This is ridiculous. That child fell down. It was an accident. We have witnesses who say otherwise. You have the right to remain silent. As they put handcuffs on Karen, she looked across the street at my house. Even from a distance, I could see the hatred in her eyes. She knew I was responsible for her arrest. But I didn't care. She had hurt my daughter. Now she would face justice. The trial took place 3 months later. By then, Lily had woken up from her coma, but she still had problems. She got headaches and had trouble remembering things. She was scared to play outside. The doctors said she might have permanent brain damage. During the trial, I presented all the evidence methodically. Karen's lawyer tried to make her look like a victim, a dedicated community leader being attacked by a vengeful father. But the evidence was too strong. Carmen Rodriguez testified about what she saw. Tim Bradley showed the video of Karen planning her attack. Dr. Martinez explained Lily's injuries. Mrs. Patterson described hearing the assault. The embezzlement charges were easier to prove. I had bank records, fake invoices, and financial statements showing exactly how Karen stole the money. The jury took only 4 hours to find Karen guilty on all charges. When the judge sentenced Karen to 15 years in prison, she started screaming in the courtroom. "This is a conspiracy. I'm innocent. That man destroyed my life." But justice had been served. After the trial, our neighborhood changed completely. Without Karen's bullying, people started to relax. They planted the flowers they wanted. They let their kids play outside. They talked to each other like neighbors should. Mrs. Chin planted her pink roses again. Mr. Rodriguez planted a new fruit tree. The Patel family put up their basketball hoop. Most importantly, Lily slowly got better. She still had bad days, but she started laughing again. She started drawing with chalk on our driveway. This time, no one complained. One evening, as I was reading Lily a bedtime story, she looked up at me with her big blue eyes. "Daddy, why was that lady so mean to me?" It was a hard question to answer. Some people have anger inside them that makes them hurt others. But she can't hurt you anymore. Are you sure? I'm sure, sweetheart. I'll always protect you. Lily smiled and closed her eyes. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Lily. Forever and always. As I watched my daughter sleep peacefully, I thought about everything that had happened. Karen had tried to destroy our lives, but she had failed. We were stronger now. We were survivors. And Karen? She was exactly where she belonged, in prison, paying for her crimes. Justice had been served. My little girl was safe. And our neighborhood was finally free from the terror of HOA Karen. But our story wasn't completely over yet. 6 months after Karen's conviction, I got a phone call that changed everything again. It was Detective Kim. "Michael, I have some news about Karen Whitaker. She's been making phone calls from prison." My heart started racing. What kind of phone calls? "She's been calling her sister, Janet Whitaker, who lives in Phoenix. We've been monitoring her calls because she's considered a high-risk prisoner. Karen has been asking Janet to take care of unfinished business here." "What does that mean?" "We think Karen wants her sister to harass you and Lily. Janet has a criminal record too: assault, vandalism, stalking. She's just like Karen." I felt sick. Even from prison, Karen was trying to hurt my family. What can we do? "We're issuing a restraining order against Janet. She's not allowed within 500 feet of you, Lily, or your home. But be careful, Michael. These women are dangerous." That night, I installed more security cameras and changed all our locks. I also hired a security company to patrol our street. I wasn't taking any chances with Lily's safety. 3 days later, the trouble started. I was at work when my phone rang. It was Mrs. Chen, our neighbor. "Michael, there's a strange woman walking around your house. She's taking pictures and writing things down in a notebook." I left work immediately and drove home. When I got there, I saw a woman who looked exactly like Karen but younger. She had the same gray hair, the same mean expression, the same expensive clothes. "Excuse me," I called out. "Can I help you with something?" The woman turned around and glared at me. "You're Michael Dawson." "Yes. And you are?" "Janet Whitaker. Karen's sister." My blood went cold. "You're violating a restraining order by being here." Janet smiled, but it was the same cruel smile I remembered from Karen. "I'm on a public sidewalk. I can walk wherever I want. You need to leave now. My sister told me all about you. She said you destroyed her life over a simple accident." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. I haven't done anything wrong. Yet." Janet walked away, but I knew she would be back. I called Detective Kim and reported the incident. "We'll send a patrol car by your house every hour," Detective Kim promised. But Janet is right, she wasn't technically breaking the law by walking on the sidewalk. That evening, I sat down with Lily to explain what was happening. She was 7 now and understood more about the world. Daddy, is the mean lady coming back? No, sweetheart. Karen is in jail. But she has a sister who might try to bother us. That's why we have extra cameras and security now. Lily looked scared. Will her sister hurt me too? I won't let anyone hurt you ever again. I promise. But keeping that promise was going to be harder than I thought. The next morning I found my car had been keyed. Someone had scratched deep lines all along the sides. The word liar was carved into the hood. I called the police and Detective Kim came to investigate. This looks like Janet's work, she said, examining the damage. But we can't prove it without witnesses or video footage. What about my security cameras? They only cover your house and yard. Your car was parked on the street, outside the camera range. I realized Janet was smarter than I had given her credit for. She knew exactly where my cameras were and how to avoid them. Over the next week, the harassment escalated. My mailbox was knocked over. My garbage cans were dumped in the street. Someone threw eggs at my house in the middle of the night. Lily was getting scared again. She didn't want to play outside. She had nightmares about the mean lady's sister. I decided to fight back. I installed new cameras that covered the entire street. I hired a private investigator to follow Janet and document everything she did. I also started carrying a voice recorder everywhere in case she tried to threaten me directly. My efforts paid off quickly. 2 days later, Janet approached me as I was getting out of my car after work. Nice car damage, she said with a smirk. Shame when bad things happen to good people. I turned on my recorder. Are you admitting you damaged my car? I'm not admitting anything. I'm just saying karma is a bitch. You need to stay away from my family. Janet stepped closer. Her eyes were full of hate, just like Karen's had been. Your daughter ruined my sister's life. Karen was a respected community leader until you destroyed her reputation. Karen put my daughter in a coma. That was an accident. But you had to play the victim and send an innocent woman to prison. Innocent? Karen was stealing money and terrorizing the whole neighborhood. Janet's face got red with anger. You're going to pay for what you did. Both you and your brat daughter. Are you threatening us? I'm promising you. That was all I needed. I had Janet's threat recorded. I immediately called Detective Kim. That's enough for an arrest, Detective Kim said after hearing the recording. Threatening a child is a serious crime. An hour later, police arrested Janet at her hotel. She screamed and fought as they put handcuffs on her. This is harassment, she yelled. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent, Detective Kim said calmly. Janet was charged with criminal threats, stalking, and violating a restraining order. The judge denied her bail because she was considered a flight risk. At Janet's trial, I testified about her threats and harassment. The jury convicted her quickly. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison. As Janet was led away in handcuffs, she turned to look at me one last time. This isn't over, she mouthed silently. But I wasn't scared anymore. I had learned how to fight bullies. And I would keep fighting them as long as they threatened my family. After Janet's conviction, our neighborhood was finally peaceful. No more Whitaker women terrorizing innocent families. No more fear every time we stepped outside. Lily started playing outside again. She made friends with other kids on the street. She drew chalk pictures on our driveway whenever she wanted. One sunny Saturday morning, I was watching Lily draw when Mrs. Chin came over with her granddaughter. Mr. Dawson, I wanted to thank you, Mrs. Chin said. For what? For standing up to the Whitakers. Before you fought them, we were all too scared to live our own lives. Now our children can play freely. Now we can plant the flowers we want. Now we can be happy. I looked around our street. Kids were riding bikes. Families were working in their gardens. People were talking and laughing together. We all deserve to live without fear, I said. Yes, and because of you we can. That evening as I was tucking Lily into bed, she looked up at me with her bright blue eyes. Daddy, I'm not scared anymore. Good sweetheart. You never have to be scared again. Will you always protect me? Always and forever. Lily smiled and closed her eyes. I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Lily. More than anything in the world. As I watched my daughter sleep peacefully, I thought about everything we had been through. The Whitaker sisters had tried to destroy us, but they had failed. We were stronger now. We were survivors. And most importantly, we were finally free. Our neighborhood was safe. My daughter was happy. Justice had been served. The reign of terror was over. Years later, when Lily was a teenager, she would sometimes ask me about those dark days when Karen and Janet Whitaker tried to destroy our lives. Daddy, why did those women hate us so much? Some people are filled with anger and cruelty, sweetheart. They hurt others because it makes them feel powerful. But you stopped them. We stopped them together. You were brave even when you were scared. You told the truth when it mattered. That's what heroes do. Lily would smile when I said that. She grew up to be a strong, confident young woman who wasn't afraid to stand up for what was right. She became a lawyer just like her old man. But unlike me, she specialized in protecting children from bullies and abusers. I want to help kids like I was helped, she told me when she graduated law school. I was so proud of her. Karen Whitaker died in prison 5 years into her sentence. Heart attack. I felt no sadness when I heard the news. The world was a safer place without her. Janet Whitaker was released after serving her full 3-year sentence. She moved to another state and never bothered us again. I think she finally learned that the Dawson family wasn't going to be intimidated. Our street became known as one of the friendliest neighborhoods in the city. Property values went up. Families wanted to live there because it was safe and welcoming. The HOA elected new leadership, people who actually cared about making the community better, not just enforcing petty rules. They named the small park at the end of our street Lily's Garden, in honor of what my daughter went through. It has beautiful flowers, playground equipment, and a small plaque that reads, "In memory of childhood innocence and in celebration of those who protect it." Every year on the anniversary of Lily's attack, we visit that park together. We remember how dark things were, but we also celebrate how far we've come. Lily always brings chalk to draw on the sidewalk around the park. Rainbow after rainbow, just like she used to draw on our driveway when she was 5. This is for all the kids who should be able to draw wherever they want, she says. And I think about how one little girl's courage to keep blowing bubbles, even when a monster was yelling at her, eventually led to freedom for an entire neighborhood. Sometimes the smallest acts of defiance can change everything. Sometimes justice comes to those who never stop fighting for it. Sometimes love really does conquer hate. Our story had a happy ending after all.